When you're going through a difficult time, a voice emerges inside your head. This voice isn't gentle or encouraging. It whispers things like, "There's no way out," "You'll always be this way," or "Nothing will ever change." But have you ever stopped to ask yourself where this voice comes from? Who exactly is speaking inside you when suffering takes over? This internal voice isn't you, but a part of you formed by past experiences, accumulated fears, and unhealed wounds. Recognizing this difference is like lighting the first candle in a dark room. It doesn't illuminate everything at once, but it already allows you to see that there's something beyond the darkness. When you manage to identify this voice as a separate part of who you really are, something interesting happens. You gain distance from it. It's like stepping outside of a house and looking at it from the outside. You realize that the house isn't you. You are just inside it. This realization is the first step toward any real transformation. Often, this internal voice carries the wisdom of a frightened child who once needed to protect themselves. It learned to see danger in everything, to always expect the worst. Understanding this isn't excusing the voice, but comprehending its origin. And when you understand, you can begin to talk to it differently. Here's something that might seem strange at first. If you feel emotional pain, it means there's a part of you that still cares. Pain isn't a sign of weakness or that something is broken forever. Pain is evidence that something valuable to you is being threatened or lost. Think about it this way. If you didn't care about anything anymore, you wouldn't feel sadness about loneliness. If you had completely given up on life, there would be no anguish. Anguish exists because a part of you is still fighting, still wants something different, still believes life can be better. This part that cares might be hidden beneath layers of disillusionment and exhaustion, but it's there. It's what makes you seek help. What makes you watch this video? What makes you search for something that could bring relief? It's living proof that you haven't completely given up. When you recognize this part that still cares, you find an internal ally. It's like discovering you're not completely alone on a deserted island. There's someone there with you, willing to work together to find a way out. This discovery changes everything, because you realize there are still internal resources available. One of the biggest tricks our mind plays when we're suffering is convincing us that no alternatives exist. It creates the illusion that we've explored every possibility, and there's nothing left to do. I can't afford therapy. I have no one to talk to. Nothing works for me. These thoughts become absolute truths in our heads. But this is just an illusion created by desperation. When we're drowning emotionally, our vision becomes very narrow. It's like looking through a straw. We can only see a small part of reality. We forget that free paths exist, resources within our reach, possibilities we haven't even considered. The suffering mind tends to create limiting stories. It takes a difficult situation and transforms it into a definitive sentence. Since I can't afford therapy, I'll never get better. But between I can't afford therapy and I'll never get better lies an ocean of other possibilities that the anxious mind simply ignores. When we begin to question these limiting stories, we open space to see options that were always there, but that our vision, narrowed by suffering, couldn't perceive. It's like cleaning a fogged window. The landscape was always there, we just couldn't see it clearly. There's a hidden treasure that many people ignore when they're seeking healing for their emotional pain. Knowledge. Books, articles, videos, podcasts, free online courses. Never in the history of humanity have we had so much access to wisdom and personal transformation tools as we do today. A public library can be a pharmacy for the soul. Books about psychology, personal development, spirituality, philosophy, biographies of people who overcame great difficulties. Each page can contain exactly the perspective you need to see your situation from a new angle. The internet has transformed access to knowledge. YouTube channels, scientific articles, support communities, guided meditations, breathing techniques, mindfulness exercises. All of this is available for free, 24 hours a day. The only investment required is your time and your openness to learning. Knowledge works like a flashlight in the darkness. When you better understand how the human mind works, how thought patterns form, how trauma affects the brain, you gain power over your own experience. You stop being a victim of processes you don't understand and become an active participant in your healing. Your body carries more wisdom than you imagine. When your mind is in turbulence, your body can be the path back to balance. Breathing, especially, is a direct bridge between the conscious and unconscious, between mental chaos and inner calm. Simple breathing techniques can calm your nervous system in just a few minutes. Breathe deeply through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Release through your mouth for 6 seconds. Repeat for a few minutes and observe how your internal state begins to change. It's not magic, it's science applied practically. Cold showers also have surprising transformative power. When you expose yourself to controlled cold, you activate a nervous system response that strengthens your ability to handle stress. Plus, the feeling of having faced something challenging first thing in the morning can completely change your mental state for the rest of the day. These simple physical exercises create small victories that your brain registers as evidence that you have power over your circumstances. Every time you choose to breathe consciously or face the discomfort of a cold shower, you're training your mind to believe that change is possible. There's something deeply healing about moving your body through space. Walking isn't just physical exercise, it's meditation in motion. When you put one foot in front of the other, you're literally practicing the act of moving forward. During a walk, especially in nature, something interesting happens to your mind. Obsessive thoughts begin to calm down. The rhythmic movement of walking synchronizes with your internal rhythm and creates a natural sense of flow. It's as if the body teaches the mind how to flow instead of resist. Observe a tree during your walk. Really observe it. See how it's rooted, yet flexible. How it grows toward the light, even when there are obstacles. How it changes with the seasons, but remains itself. This simple observation can awaken profound wisdom about resilience and adaptation. When you reconnect with nature, you also reconnect with something greater than your individual pain. You remember that you're part of a living system, in constant transformation. This perspective can bring immense relief from the feeling of being trapped in your own mind. In the digital age, human connection has gained new forms. Even when you feel physically isolated, there are online communities where people share experiences similar to yours. Forums, support groups, social networks focused on mental wellness can offer the sense of belonging your soul needs. Sharing your struggle with other people who understand can be incredibly liberating. When you put words to your pain and someone responds, "I understand, I went through that too," something moves inside you. Loneliness loses some of its strength because you realize you're not alone on this journey. These communities also offer something precious, different perspectives on the same problems. What seems like a hopeless situation to you might have obvious solutions to someone who has already gone through something similar. It's like having access to a bank of human experiences that can illuminate paths you hadn't considered. Participate actively in these communities. Don't just consume content, but contribute as well. When you help another person going through difficulties, something interesting happens. You reconnect with your own strength and wisdom. You discover that even in the midst of your pain, you still have something valuable to offer the world. At some point in your healing journey, a familiar voice will appear. "This won't work for me." This voice carries impressive conviction. It has examples, evidence, solid arguments about why you're a special case, why things that work for others won't work for you. This disbelief isn't your whole self talking, but a specific part of you, usually the part that got hurt trying to improve before. It's the part that built high walls to protect itself from new disappointments. It sincerely believes it's protecting you by discouraging new attempts. Acknowledge this voice without fighting against it. Say, "I understand you want to protect me. Thank you for your concern." But don't let it have the last word. Remember that it only knows the past, not the future. It doesn't know what internal resources you've developed since the last time you tried to change. Disbelief is like an overly sensitive security system. It was installed to protect you, but sometimes it sets off false alarms. You can recognize its protective function without letting it control your choices. You can thank it for its vigilance and still decide to try again. Many of the voices that speak inside your head when you're suffering don't have the age you are today. They're echoes of past moments, especially from childhood, when you didn't yet have resources to deal with difficult situations. This inner child is still there, repeating the same conclusions it drew years ago. When you were small and felt abandoned, rejected, or misunderstood, your childish mind created explanations for what was happening. "It must be because I'm not important. It must be because I'm different. It must be because the world is dangerous. These explanations made sense at the time, with a child's limited knowledge. The problem is that these explanations remain active inside you, even after you grew up and developed other capabilities. When something difficult happens today, it's often the voice of this wounded child that takes control, applying the same old conclusions to new situations. Understanding this is liberating because you realize you can talk to this childish part of you with the wisdom you have today. You can explain to it that now you have more resources, more knowledge, more options. You can assure it that you, the adult, are in control of the situation now. One of the most powerful insights you can have is learning to distinguish between you and your trauma. Trauma has a specific characteristic. It freezes time. It makes you feel as if what happened in the past were an eternal reality, as if wounds would never heal, as if you would never be different from what you are today. But you are not your trauma. You are the person who experienced trauma. There's a fundamental difference between these two things. Trauma is something that happened to you, not something you are. When you can make this distinction, you gain access to parts of yourself that trauma couldn't touch. Inside, you exist a more mature, more conscious, wiser self. This self can observe trauma without being consumed by it. It can feel compassion for the wounded part, without believing that part defines your entire reality. It can make decisions based on the present, not just reactions to the past. This more mature part of you can become the internal leader that guides the healing process. It can talk to the traumatized part, offer safety, make conscious decisions about how to handle triggers and difficult memories. It's like having a responsible adult caring for a wounded child inside you. Our culture teaches us that real change needs to be dramatic and fast. Movies and books show instant transformations, spectacular turning points. But real life works differently. In real life, the most lasting changes happen through small, consistent steps. A simple daily habit can create waves of transformation that spread throughout your entire life. It could be 5 minutes of morning meditation, a 10-minute walk after lunch, writing 3 things you're grateful for before bed. Small but consistent actions have impressive cumulative power. What makes these small steps so powerful is that they bypass the mind's natural resistance to change. When you try to transform everything at once, your brain panics and activates all defense systems. But when you make small, gradual changes, you can outsmart these defenses. Each small step is also an opportunity to prove to yourself that change is possible. Every time you keep a small commitment to yourself, you're building internal evidence that you have control over your life. This evidence accumulates and, over time, transforms your relationship with possibility. When you're suffering intensely, your mind becomes like an unreliable narrator. It tells dramatic stories about your situation, makes catastrophic predictions about the future, interprets events in distorted ways. The problem is that when we're in pain, we tend to believe everything our mind says. Not every internal narrative is true. Your mind in suffering isn't an impartial journalist reporting objective facts. It's more like an expressionist artist, painting reality with the colors of your pain. Understanding this is fundamental to not getting completely carried away by despair. Questioning the mind doesn't mean denying your feelings or pretending everything's okay. It means developing the ability to observe your thoughts with healthy skepticism. When your mind says, "It'll never get better," you can respond, "That's one possibility. But is it the only one? Is it the most likely one?" This questioning ability develops with practice. At first, you'll realize you believed a distorted thought only after it's already affected you. Over time, you can catch these thoughts red-handed, the moment they're arising. This is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Profound transformation doesn't need to be a grandiose event. It can start with micro moments of relief that you intentionally create throughout the day. 1 minute of conscious breathing, a song that touches your soul, a walk to the corner, a funny video that makes you smile. These moments might seem insignificant compared to the magnitude of your pain, but they're seeds of change. Every time you manage to create a small space of relief, you're proving to your nervous system that different states are possible. You're training your body and mind to remember what it feels like to feel different. Momentary relief is a sign of hope. It shows that your pain, however intense, isn't a fixed and permanent state. It's a state that can be influenced, modified, relieved. This discovery is the beginning of everything. because you start to believe that change is possible. The more you practice creating these micro moments of relief, the more skilled you become at changing your internal state. It's like exercising a muscle. At first it's difficult and the result is small, but over time you develop strength and dexterity. Your capacity for emotional self-regulation expands. Much of the suffering you feel today may have roots that go much deeper than the current circumstances of your life. Old pain, unprocessed trauma, childhood wounds that never completely healed. Present despair might be the repetition of very old emotional patterns. Recognizing this connection between past and present is liberating because it helps you understand that your current pain isn't just about what's happening now. It's also about old wounds that have been reactivated. When you understand this, you can begin to treat the root cause, not just the symptoms. This doesn't mean you need to spend years analyzing your past or blaming other people for what you're feeling. It means understanding that part of your current pain is an echo of situations you didn't have resources to process at the time. Now, as an adult, you have different resources. Separating past from present is a fundamental skill. When you feel intense emotional pain, you can ask yourself, how much of this is about what's happening now, and how much is about what happened before? This simple question can bring impressive clarity. The most transformative discovery you can make is realizing that you are not just your wound. The part of you that's suffering is real, deserves care and attention, but it's not all you are. Inside you also exist resources, strength, wisdom, capacity for love and creation. Often, when we're in intense suffering, our identity merges with our pain. We begin to define ourselves through our wounds. I'm a depressed person. I'm an anxious person. I'm a traumatized person. We forget that we're much more complex and multifaceted than our moments of pain. You have within you the same force that allows a flower to grow through concrete. The same intelligence that makes your heart beat without you having to think about it. The same healing capacity that makes a cut on your skin heal naturally. This force hasn't disappeared because you're suffering. Reconnecting with this force doesn't mean denying your pain or pretending it doesn't exist. It means expanding your perspective on who you are. It means remembering that you are both the person who suffers and the person who has resources to deal with that suffering. You are both the wound and the capacity to heal. If you've made it this far, you've already proven something important. You still have hope. Even if it's just a thin thread, there still exists within you a part that believes in the possibility of change. This part deserves to be honored and nurtured. The healing journey isn't linear. There will be difficult days, setbacks, moments when you'll feel like you're back to square one. But remember, every time you get up after a fall, you're stronger than before. Every small step matters. Every moment of courage counts. You have within you everything you need to start over. If this content touched your heart in any way, subscribe to the channel to receive more personal transformation tools. And don't forget to leave your like so more people can find this message of hope. Together we are stronger than alone.